Like to say good afternoon to my YouTube friends. For those of you that know me, you know I'm kind of an impromptu kind of a guy. I'm going to come on when the coming on is appropriate, and I think it's appropriate now. Yesterday, I attempted to, as a matter of fact, to do this YouTube live to speak about a book 25 years ago that I read, and I had my guest in the radio booth of this text, the unholy double cross. What I plan on doing for you today, and by Jafar Basheer, he's the author of the text. And what I plan on doing today is giving a brief introduction to you that uh, maybe have never heard of the book. You can still pick it up, I guess, and the people that uh, sell books. It was called The Unholy Double Cross, The Tampering of the Good Book. I have in my disposal, thanks to Jafar, the actual, how can I say it? The actual, yes, radio presentation that we were doing back 25 years ago. And I think it important to show this, not on this particular webcast, because on this particular webcast is just the introduction of that series. I've been watching things on my YouTube screen here in the house all yesterday and all today, looking at the political back and forth, the jargon that takes place between individuals over the years. And I thought that I'd give an explanation because I'm going to play the entire radio show, if not today, tomorrow for sure. And as I play the radio show, let me give you the background. I had a nighttime radio series. Um, I forget what I called it, Into the Word or something like that. And Jafar was a Muslim. I think he was more of a independent Muslim than from the Nation of Islam. And that's why I chose to have him on my radio show. The radio station that I appeared upon was KKLA FM. I believe that radio station to this date in 2025, some 25 years ago. And if you are blessed to have the radio show, good for you. I have it in my stack somewhere, but Jafar was nice enough to bring me a copy of the radio show. And I want to cover my arm up. Tommy Toomer's doing his job, and I thought it important. See, a lot of you have never seen me in a debate or heard me in a debate with someone, and I knew that Jafar was not a Christian, and he was not a Christian because he stated that he had found some critical errors in the book that I ascribe to, which is supposed to be this book here. Okay. And he in no way was telling me that I should stop ascribing to this book, but he was telling me that there are numerous errors in this book. And would I be willing, as a Christian pastor, to come on my radio presentation and to debate him about these so called errors. So, what I said is, yes, I'd love to debate you. And I said, send me all the questions that you have for me, and I'll send you any questions that I have for you. We took care of that prior to coming on the radio. And in the booth with me that night was Pastor Milford Talbot. You've seen me discuss him on one of my webcasts here recently. Milford and I fell out. As a matter of fact, I fell out with most of those guys in ministry because I think that it was professional jealousy which jumped in the heart of those black men, which caused me to just go solo for the rest of my life in Christian ministry until I had declined to do ministry altogether. The reason that I'm making this introduction is because if you don't know how to listen to a debate, listening to this will not only educate you, but it will give you a clear definition of what love is. Certain men on my staff, I didn't want to come in the booth because of their, how can I put it? Because I'm going back 25 years. Their immaturity to deal with the main concept that I was on the radio for, and that was to love. I never debated anyone or contended with anyone because I hated that person. You can't have a lively debate unless you literally love the debate and love the person that you're debating with. And if they ask you questions that you can't answer or you can't answer appropriately, you should be able to give in to that and say, you're correct. Now, I'm going to show you something. I'm just looking at the introduction of the book. And when I turn to the pages, you see all those markings in it? I read the book and I underlined certain things about it, the positive and the negative. And when we came on the air, we had, I think, the most important discussion that we as black men could ever have together. Oh, and just do what you're doing, Mario. You know, you're not making noise. You're not interrupting me. Yeah. My son Mario just came by to visit me, and he has a key to my home. He can walk in whenever he wants to because I'm not the kind of brother that say I love you, and then I can't give you a key to my house to walk in, to wash his clothes, to have lunch. See what I'm talking about? I'm talking about a kind of love that used to be in black people in the olden days. Not this kind of love. If you scratch my back, I'll scratch your back. And I want to say this to all black men that watch these next two series that I do. And I want to show you something. I'm going to turn the monitor around and I hope that you'll be able to see the screen. Yeah, you can see my TV screen. See, I'm watching YouTube. And that's what I'm doing. I'm in my living room and I'm watching these clips on YouTube. And what all these people are saying about the political agendas of these people like Kamala Harris and Biden and Trump, and the hatred that is going on in our nation between some of these people. I'm going to tell you now that I don't have a very good opinion about politics these days. I think that the way this thing is being run, somebody's going to end up hurt, physically hurt, because there's no respect for anybody. There's no love out there. And so I want you to feel free to comment as I go through this. I don't know how long this piece is going to be, but I'm talking about me. Also, for those of you that don't think that I am a legitimate theologue, I want you to listen to the interview and you will see me using all of the tools of my trade. And I'll tell you the truth. When I look back, I don't remember putting the debate together. I don't remember the questions that he asked or anything. But when I listened to the CDs that he brought by my home, because he brought them by my home a few days ago and asked me to listen to it, I had forgot I did it with him 25 years ago. This is me speaking a quarter of a century ago. I am the same man at the time that I made this radio presentation. I was married and Lucy was still alive because it was done in 1999. Lucy passed away in 2001. Okay. So Lucy passed away approximately 2 years after I did this interview. I was married to a woman at that time going on 34 years. I had not come out as a gay man. I did not. And it was not because I was ashamed of being gay. It was that I couldn't see any way for me to be a Christian apologist defending the Bible and saying that I was gay because I had never read a word in the Bible where Jesus either condemned or exonerated gayness. And I'm not talking about those Old Test. Those of you that are thinking, I want you to put your thinking cap on when you listen to this series. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back in my office and play it on a speaker, and I will be able to interrupt the dialogue of the interview. I'm going to play Mark Ramsey's introduction of my radio presentation. And let me say this, regardless of what you've been led to think, as a matter of fact, if Charlton Davis, if you're still alive out there, you're going to hear you on this 25-year interview. And when Charlton called, he tried to argue with my guest about being legitimate, and I had to cut him off because that has never been my purpose. It's to get someone that doesn't believe the way that I believe and to tear them another booty hole. That is not apologetics. That's called immaturity. And I'm sorry, the men that followed me knew that I had the gift of gab and they tried to take advantage of that. And I never allowed them to be scathed, condemned, or to speak negatively about the individuals that I interviewed on my radio presentation. And let me repeat this again for those of you that think you're a businessman and everything like that. God has never intended for the church to be a business. And I'm kind of glad in a sense I got this cancer and it is going to take me out soon. And that's why I'm doing these things, because you people have made Christianity a business. And I believe that that's anathema. I'm sorry. You're cursed with a curse. I never sold anything in the church, nor did I put myself up for hire as a hiring. Of course, I had to get an income. I had a family to feed. I don't believe I ever made over $3,700 a month as a pastor. And I'm talking about the church that I pastored was a good sized church. My wife wasn't on the payroll. My children were not on the payroll. And I had a treasurer, one of the guys that was a treasurer of one of the ministries I had, Mr. Garland Gaydon. He lives in Harbor City. He's still alive. He'll validate this. He was a treasury, and he will verify that my name has never been on a Christian dollar. In other words, Pastor John didn't have a bank account holding all the money, issuing all the checks, and doing that. The reason that I lost my radio ministry was because the crook that was my treasurer at that time, uh, well, I won't get into that. I had crooks, black men that did not respect the Bible, God, or anything, criticized me consistently because they wanted what I had built. And I'm making this because my whole life was built on Christian ministry and apologetics. And I'm doing this before I die because I know that after I die, Negroes are going to become scandalous. Scandalous. I asked a young man that was here earlier to get out and leave because I didn't want him to hear me talking, because he'd probably come in and try to give a defense. I don't want no defense for what I know to be true. And let me say this to those of you that's been coming to my YouTube page. I don't even care whether you like me. I have never lied to you or anyone, especially about this book. When this man, Shaw, wrote this book and contacted me, who had an apologetic radio ministry on KKLA, I said, I will give you equal time to talk, to levy your point. And he asked me certain questions and I answered. And as you listen to the dialogue, I'm not going to have it on this hour because I have to get your mind ready for something. This was a debate. It wasn't whether Mr. What's his name? Basheer knew God the way that I knew God, or believed in God the way that I believed in God, because each of us, as individual creations of God, have our own idea or conception of God. And let me get into the gay straight thing, because a lot of my gay friends who watch me may get turned off by this. I am not defending you. You can only defend yourself. How can I stand debauchery in anyone? If anyone is doing shameful things, shame on you. I will always be that way. Why? Because I was raised with a dad and a mom that whipped my ass if I didn't act like I knew the difference between right and wrong. Most of my arguments today don't come from the older people because they're dying off. And I'm doing this because the older people that are alive will not talk about it. They won't talk about it. I'm still bold enough and smart enough. That's why I won't take chemo for this cancer, because chemo will have slop coming out of my mouth, my hair falling out, me looking and sounding stupid. I'm putting this up because Google YouTube will be a satellite station that will be up forever. And you can look at it if you want to, and you can turn it off if you want to. I'm not trying to gain you as my friend or my enemy. I'm not trying to convince you that what you're hearing is the truth. If you listen closely, you will hear me mention the names of people who sent money donations to me. As a matter of fact, Brother Jafar told me, John, this show was done approximately 2 or 3 weeks before they hijack your radio ministry and kick you off the air. That's why I'm doing this, because after I die, I won't be able to do it. You understand what I'm saying? And I'm not talking about anyone. Charlton, if you hear this, I love you when I first met you. I love you now. I think your style is ridiculous. Mr. Talbot, you were my ace boon coon on this show because when I chose you to do radio with me, number one, you had a master's degree like me because I didn't want an uneducated black man on radio across the country running his mouth talking about flapjacks and crackerjacks and didn't know what he's talking about. Milford, I'll tell you this right now. I don't want to talk with you and spend time with you, but I've always respected your education, your love for the truth, and the way you came across when you were on track. But you know what your fault was. You know what made me disagree with you. I won't even discuss that on this forum because I'll probably be dead by the time half of you get up enough gumption to say anything. And this is hard for me. I'm sitting in my living room. And I said, John, you got to do it. I've been putting it off for weeks, putting it off for weeks. And when Jafar sent me this CD of the radio clip, I'm telling you people something. I couldn't believe it was me talking. I couldn't believe it. Mark Ramsey, let me speak to you. You haven't spoken to me since I came out as being gay. I don't know why you won't call me or talk to me. And I don't know what they're going to do for this corrupt body when it dies. I don't care what they do with it. But I'm talking to you, Mark, because you were the best radio producer I ever knew in my life. I've never met a man like you. The way you put the ads. Ladies and gentlemen, when you listen to the ads and all that put together, that wasn't put together by a white guy because I was involved in pushing African American talent, brains, genius. That's all I was about until jealousy came in the midst. And you know what? That's what's the matter with us today. I can't vote for Kamala because she's not a black woman. I don't care what you say. It doesn't matter to me if she went to Howard, Schmoward, Woward. You're being deceived. There is a front of individuals who can easily take over the minds of black people because we bite into socialism very easy. And this happens because we do not have a history of trusting each other and building for ourselves. I was looking at a thing, let me try to get it back on the screen, with, who was it? It was, wait a minute, let me go back. I should have had it done before. Yeah, let me go back. This is what I want to do. I want to go back to uh, what I was looking at before I was looking at what I'm looking at now. But it was a discussion between, here he is right here. It was a discussion. What's the guy's name? Yeah, I won't do it. Don't let me do that because he has taken up too much of my time. But I was looking at a YouTube character and he had um, Cornel West on with him. It was a young man speaking with an older black man. And the young man was saying to Cornel West, where can we find wisdom in our people? And he was asking Dr. West, why would he run for the presidency of the United States? What can he bring to young black men. And the young black men were saying that we young black men don't have any older black leaders to listen to. Now, here's a very important point that I'm going to point out. And this is where I get in trouble with my female audience. And there again, if you want to misrepresent me and misunderstand me, it's up to you to do that. I believe in male leadership. I believe that if you're going to lead a people, if you're going to lead in a government, lead in a country, that you had best be a man leading men, because it is men that run our military. It is, I'm not saying that women can't be in the military. I'm not saying that women can't have a high office in that military. But when it comes to making the decisions that has to be made, and I'm not talking about that orange haired man that is making ridiculous decisions. I don't vote. I'm doing this introduction to let you know I do not participate in the American agenda to vote, because it's all been prescribed. And you can believe whatever you want. I don't vote. And leave your comments if you're on. I won't be angry at you. You can leave your comments. I will read your comments. I'm not trying to hide anything. That's why I come on and I don't tell you when I'm coming on, because I only do a webcast when my mind tells me, now, John, talk about it, talk about it. I'm 80 years old. My mind is clear. And the pain of this cancer, it is hurting. And I just had to take a high velocity pain pill because I could not do this without that. Listen to an old man from the tribe of African Americans, because this political thing and all this stuff going on here, I'm going to tell you what I see. And when I play this interview by myself and Jafar, you will know the kind of brain I had 25 years ago. And you need to ask yourself, what happened to you? Why didn't they back what you were doing? I was not afraid to debate a Muslim, or a Muslim, if you will, about the validity of the Bible on live FM radio at night. I was not afraid to do it. As a matter of fact, during the interview, I affirmed what he wrote. I said, yes, we have been hucksuckled, because the other title of the book is The Tampering of the Good Book, because it has been tampered with. The Bible has been tampered with by man to make you believe certain things. Now, you want to hear some stupid? Listen to this. I was a gay man my entire life. I knew that since I was 14 years old. Why couldn't I be a gay pastor? Huh? Why couldn't I? Because you're going to quote an Old Testament verse that a man should not lie with a man as he lies with a woman? That's illegitimate. That's not with me. I don't lie with a man like I lie with a woman. I don't lie with a woman like I lay with my wife. It's stupid. Keep that statement within the context in which it was written. Who was the writer? Who was he writing to? Why did he write it? And is that applicable to me? Show me in the Bible where Jesus condemned homosexuality. Oh, he condemned dirty sex. He condemned adultery. He condemned whoredom. But he did not condemn a woman for loving another woman. I don't see that anywhere. But I see what men have done. When I had my radio ministry, I was not afraid to confront that and to allow that to be broadcast. And for the first time that I was on the radio, and I hope that I have enough gumption to remember to play it. At the end of the radio broadcast, KKLA radio had a disclaimer. I had never heard them play a disclaimer for my radio shows. You know, the one that says the views held by uh, Living by the Word Ministries are solely those of John Coleman and not of the radio station. Do you know why they said that? Because they had an agenda that they were pushing. I had never heard them play that disclaimer, and they played it on this radio show. And 3 weeks later, PJ is history. Now, keep that in mind as you think about voting for the persons that you're voting for and what people you're getting behind to vote for them. And this year, politics is so filthy. Let me talk about the Kamala thing. I've watched Judge Brown's statement against Kamala, and I think Judge Brown is kind of harsh. I wouldn't use those terms, but Kamala was a player out there. And if she dealt with a person like Willie Brown in San Francisco, if she dated him, which she doesn't deny, she was a player, all right. Now, how do I know? Because I was a pastor that believed that if you were married, you had no business out there cahooting with anybody. Not saying that they were married, but they were political leaders. I thought that a political leader's morality should be basically on the same level as at least a pastor. Wouldn't you think so? I knew that they weren't. I didn't go around trying to jump on nobody's infraction of moral disability. And I appreciate the three of you that are watching me. I don't know who you are, but tell your friends about this because I'm going to tell you something else, people. I feel this thing working. I had a young man tell me, know what he did? Let me see who is this. Okay. Thank you, Memo. Good to have you on. Um, See, I know because the cancer is eating fast. And Memo, I know you sit in my Bible studies, brother. You sit under me. You know I've always been legitimate. They're going to try to illegitimize me when I'm dead. And I don't have a lot of money. I can't defend. The only way that I can defend myself is in real time. And I'm going to play this radio program, and I'm spending this long time as an introduction, 32 minutes into it already, because they silence you. Look, this is the way they do it. This is the way these new agers do it. They believe that if they got enough people screaming, let's talk about that interview with ex-President Trump and the journalist, the Black Journalists Association. Where were the men on the panel? Why did you have three black women? Now, if it was just a women's organization, all right. I don't know why they just had the women. See, they are definitely going to. Okay, I don't know who you are. They are definitely going to wait, pops. What do you mean wait for what? They're going to wait for what? Uh, why do you think they had three women in that journalistic thing to represent black people? Number one, none of those women represented me. Number two, where were the black men? I'm asking these questions because there are brilliant young black men out there that will not take this liberal bent. Most black men are not liberals. They're conservative. My father was not a Democrat. He was a Republican, though he never tried to influence me. But he raised me as a man. And he raised me, follow your own mind when you have the proof of what you're doing. I've never had a racial problem teaching anybody Christianity. I never had to, I don't know what hating somebody because of the color of their skin is. Number one, they couldn't help they were born that way. Now let's get back to Kamala. She's not an African American. She is not. Her parents are not African Americans. Her parents are of the Indian background, like Brahmins and like that from the country India. They're from there. They have coarse hair. They have the dark complexion skin. Kamala reminds me of a chameleon. You know what that is? A lizard that changes her colors whenever she has to. She's a politician. Who did she? Oh, God, help me. See, I have to slow down because my heart is getting kind of upset about this. Who did she prosecute when she was Attorney General? Who did she lock up? What were the charges? Who were the people that suffered the most? And who is she trying to get people to vote for her the most? I think that if you're going to be honest, at least be honest. If she was running for the presidency 25 years ago when I had my radio presentation, you will be able to hear the way I spoke on the radio to know that she wouldn't get a white flag or fair warning. It is my contention to say that young people today are following the majority of the crowd instead of following a mind that is disciplined to know what the hell they're listening to know who the hell they're following. You need to slow down and stop running in group. Those of you that took philosophy with me in college, I taught you about the Hegelian dialectic and all of that. You're just following in group. I know there's people in my family that I love, beloved. They're following it. We don't argue about it anymore because I love them more than the group. So you're going to find this old man at 80 is the same old man he was when he married, when I did this radio presentation, and that I am now. Because when I shovel off this mortal coil, it's going to be a different kind of person that speaks about me. It's gonna sound like this. Well, I knew PJ and he meant well, but he was rather disturbed. What? Never been disturbed. Never spoke to a psychiatrist. Never had to speak to a psychoanalyst. Never in my life for 80 years. The courts, never been booked. I'm on nobody's police blotter. The only handcuffs that I had put on me was the handcuffs that I had put on me on my 80th birthday party when the guys were playing a joke on me. Don't be bothered by that. That's just another brother. Hey, how you doing? See, I have people all the time coming to say hello to me. See that? There's two people in the room while I do a live webcast. Yes. See, but I know what they're going to say, people. That's why I'm doing this webcast. I know people. I know what they're going to say. I'm clearing the slate before I die because I came up in the company of African Americans. And I know how it is when they're jealous and when they play the crawdad mentality. Y'all know what crawdad mentality is? I think you know what that is, Guillermo. Y'all got it in your nationality too, in the Hispanic thing. Crawdads like you, crawdads in a bucket. You got all these crawdads in a bucket. One is about to crawl out of the bucket. He's been working years to get out. The other crawdads haven't worked anything to get out. What they're going to do? They're going to crawl up on his back, pull him down, and use his body as a catalyst to get themselves out. And he did the work. Now, I have told men professionally for years, if you want to do what I do, first of all, go to school and get an education. Learn how to read. This is what I find what's wrong with young people today. They look at something on YouTube and instead of doing the background of knowing what you're looking at, why they're saying it, if it makes them laugh and it's a funny, then they pass it on to their friends. Sometimes they pass it on to me. It's not funny to me. Think of serious stuff. What are you going to lead? What are you going to be? What are they going to accuse you of in leading your community? If we had a black agenda in politics, this is interesting because I heard these young men talking about it with the older philosopher. Where are the Tavis Smileys now? Where are they? And do you know who pulled Tavis Smiley down? Do you know who pulled him down? Do you know who ruined his career? I don't think it was a black man that ruined his career. Who did it? See, we don't want to talk about that. Tavis Smiley was the brightest of voices and minds in a roundtable forum that we had. He chaired it and he was pulled down in one swoop. Had one of the finest television shows that any black man could ever have. Have you seen anybody duplicate it? No, because they're trying to choose whether they're on the left or on the right. I'm telling you to drop that crap and be on the black. You've got to love black people. As you listen to this interview, you're going to hear myself and Jafar disagree. He wrote this book 25 years ago. I had him on my show. I'm having breakfast with him on Slauson 3 weeks ago. I looked in his eyes. I still loved him. He still loved me. We smiled. We talked. We were not enemies. He was a Muslim and I was a Christian. Y'all better listen to me. These people got your head spinning over bull crap. Now, let me go back to a statement that President Trump made. He said he has always helped black people. And I heard a lot of black people in the audience laugh. I know a lot of black people that got jobs because of that man and his business expertise. You may not like him as a politician. You may not like him because he don't talk like you and don't think like you, but don't sell him short. He has provided jobs, and you better check the records. He was the one that wrote all those hundreds of thousands of dollars for the black universities. What black man did that? Did Oprah do it? I need us to stop lying here. We lying and flying. You're listening to an 80-year-old man that got the writ right. You may not like him because they call him orange hair, but he knows what he was doing. He didn't need to go to that conference to get the black vote. He's trying to tell black people what makes the world run. There are two kinds of isms. There's capitalism and there's socialism. What kind of ism do you want to run your life? That's the question in this election. Do you want socialism to run it or capitalism to run it? You a black entrepreneur? You believe in black entrepreneurial? Who you going to work with? The kind 25 years ago that slammed me and got me kicked off the radio, stole everything. Those are black people. Oh, some of you alive right now, you don't like this, do you? You don't like it. Not dead yet. That's why I'm doing it, because after I'm dead, I know what you're going to do. You're going to try to come on your social network and bescathe my name. I'm not going to talk about you now. I know you as a coward then, and you're a coward now. Why don't you come on my YouTube live? You got my address. You used to come by and visit me. See, I'm just telling you that you young people have been taken for a ride. Listen to the old man. I was talking with an older man 2 days ago, and he said, "You know what? I asked him what his parents would say about me, and he told me, he said, you know, my parents have said John's gonna get kicked out of everywhere he goes." And I asked him why. Well, because John is telling the truth. I thought that's what a minister's supposed to do. Most black ministers today are not telling you the truth because they're trying to keep that money. I'll never forget when I went on the only sea cruise I ever been on. There was a black preacher, and he took his entire administrative staff on this cruise that I went on, a 5 day cruise to Alaska. They were all black. They were in one of the restaurants. I went down there and said, "Hey, what you people doing here?" And said, "Oh, I'm Pastor such and such. This is my wife, and this is my church staff." In other words, I said, "You mean this is your entire church administrative staff?" He said, "Yes. And every year we come on a sea cruise." I said, "And you pastor an all black church?" And he said, "Yes." And I said, "Do the people of your church know what you living like?" Because they was living life like it was golden, people. Golden. And some people in the black church think, "Oh, well, if you the pastor and you work that hard, you deserve this." Yep, that's why you got these crooked preachers doing. That's why Eddie Long was able to get away with. I don't have against Eddie Long because he was gay. He should have came out and said it, since he was gonna mess with them boys like that. What happened to him should have happened to him. I don't know what brought about his death, but he was wrong for using that church money and getting the church attorneys to back him up. He should have used his own money. And by the way, I've never been sued by anyone. I've never gone to court. I've never been found guilty of one mishap while I pastored the church. Now, after I die, you're going to hear a lot of bull crap. PJ's a smart man. He's taking care of it now because he knows people. He knows people. I have black ministers up in age that will not talk to me. I've had one of them tell me, I said, "Why don't you invite me by your church?" He said, "I'd never invite you by my church." I said, "Why not?" He said, "Because you tell them people the truth." I said, "Isn't that what a preacher is supposed to do?" Know what he said to me? This is what he said: "Nigga, you crazy." Now you think I got respect for that man? None. Absolutely zero. Because he don't want his people to know the truth. And you must be careful of people like that. When I was in ministry, that's what I told them. That's why I started doing church out of my home, out of my garage. I refuse to play that game. As hard as black people work and they talk to God, and then he told me I'm crazy because I tell him the truth. So that's why you can vote for whoever you want to. But if you vote for Kamala, you are not voting for an African American woman that understands the ins and the outs and the needs and the wants of African American females or males. She Most of the people she prosecuted were black males with minimum charges on marijuana. I can only imagine what she would have done to me if she had discovered that I was smoking sativa before it was legalized. I guess I'd do 5 years. Now, you think I'm a cruel man? For those of you that think I'm cruel in the year 2024, that's because you didn't have fathers to raise you. You were raised by your mama, and the whole world evolves around her. I deal with young men in my life. I love these brothers, and they need a strong man, strong opinions to tell them to have strong opinions too. But keep your damn mouth shut unless you're talking about some facts. And don't engage in a conversation through emotionalism because that's what your mama would teach you. Well, I know I'm right because your grandma was dead, baby. I don't want to hear nothing from her. What about you? Did it come from your head? They got this lie going out that Pastor John hates women. That's a lie. I never hated my mother. I never hated no black woman. I hate ignorance. Them eyelashes are fake and you look stupid with them. Can I say that as a man? I wouldn't go nowhere with you. You look like a fool. Now, I tell a man the same thing. You see these men dressed in these pink suits? You can't even get his hands in his pocket. His pants are so tight. And when he bent over, it looked like his pants are going to split. Wait, brother, you in public. Children are looking at you. I can do whatever I want. Yeah, but you're in a society that everybody don't do whatever they want. So you don't get it twisted. We need some men. Men. And if we don't develop men, that's why I tell black people, y'all need to be having babies. You Hispanics too. You need to be making babies. And ladies, you need to stop putting the men out the house. Just because you made $4,000 more than him, what the hell are you doing putting that man out the house for? You got a son and you can put his daddy out the house. And you getting ready to go out, huh, honey? Yeah, you getting ready to go out. And you love your baby boy. I don't mind you. I love him too. He's a fine human being. And you getting ready to go out. I see you. I see what you're putting on. Putting on them colorful underwear, colorful bras, and everything. That boy sees you. That boy sees you dressed. Do you talk with him when you getting dressed and say, now listen, Jethro, when you dress and you get ready to go out, you don't wear no panties like this. I'm doing this for a reason. And you will learn that reason later on. You wear these white things of plain colors and keep your pants pulled up because another man don't want to look at another man's behind. That's in a masculine agenda society. This society is changing. A lot of straight men love looking at gay men and love what the gay man is showing. I'm not mad at them. But my God, what are you putting in? You know what? I got so much to talk about, people. I can do one of these things every day of my life. I almost talked an hour. I want you to watch this next series is coming up. It's going to be some serious listening. Now, those of you that cannot listen for more than 10 minutes, you need to go to some of my older casts and get in the habit of listening and understanding what you're listening to. I am not on here, and let me say this right now. I love watching Vicky Dillard, but no, I would never debate her. I would never do that. Vicky is very entertaining to me. She is one of the very few black women that I watch on social media. I like the way she does her hair, her nails, and the way she dip, 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 dip. I love that. And if she ever want to do a two-screen conversation with me, I'm willing to do it. But I'm not going to contact her. Why? Because I don't need popularity by talking with Vicky. I know what Vicky's never learned. That's why Vicky likes talking with Farrakhan, because Farrakhan is old as I am. If Farrakhan know anything about me, he knows doctrinally and biblically I differ with him, but Farrakhan is using more Bible in his old age than he ever has. I understand that because I'm 80. It's time to stop fussing with each other. It's time for black men to come together. I'm going to ask the question again. If you were forced to choose an African American male leader as the leader of your people in this country, black man, black woman, who would he be? And I said he. Maya is dead. Oprah is not on the same track at all. Oprah's not. Because if she was on the same track I was on, you would have seen it with the writing of the checks. She's not writing the checks in the right areas as a leader. And most of our black male leadership ain't got no money because we didn't use wealth the way that whites and other people that come here with gold bricks use money. We don't have it. That's why when you go to these seminars and whatever they call them, they're trying to build wealth in the black community. But who? Who would you choose to lead you? Same thing for you, Guillermo. Who would you choose as an Hispanic American male to lead your population, to lead your people, that the majority of your people would listen to? In other words, if we could have a black male president, and if he could choose an Hispanic male vice president, or vice versa, who would be the men that you would choose? You know why we can't come to it? Because we haven't given enough thought and we don't love our own enough to even consider it. And I'm not running for the post because I'm like Biden. I'll go crazy in a minute. That's what happened. The man is too old. And you have to understand, he is a diehard socialist. Read up on what socialism works for a black community when black people don't have anything. I understand that. But our young people will not survive in a socialist mentality if we don't have a leader that would be independent of government funds. You can't have a strong nation when you give everything away. You demand that your population works. I've been helping young men for years in my house. You know the main thing that I push? It wasn't socialism. It was everybody got to get a job and make your own money. I ain't bragging on none of the men here, but I got one of them. He's a teacher in a private school and been all over the world umpteen times on his own and has never asked me for nothing but a hug. That's the kind of leader a man builds. But there's division within our community now. I want to challenge you as you get ready to listen to this radio presentation. And I'm going to play it and I'm going to be live responding with you because I've got to cut it off and tell you why Jafar said what he said and why I said what I said. And when you look at the thickness of this book, this ain't no 300-page paperback. This man wrote this. And now you can go and get the book. I think they're selling it on Amazon somewhere. I don't know. You can buy it if you want to, or you can listen to the radio show and listen to the arguments. And listen to when we invited the population to call in and to give their opinion. And listen to when some of the people that were allies with me would call in and I had to hang up on them because they wanted to become argumentative. You don't do apologetics by arguing with your opponent, having in the back of your head, if they don't agree with you, they're going to hell. You can't even prove the doctrine of hell. I can't. I'm just being real with it. I never threatened the people that I pastored in my church with hell if they didn't do what they were supposed to do. I said, if you don't want to do it, don't do it. Religion is so that a man can have something to fall back on. Check this out. Then I'm going to let you go, I swear. I didn't mean to go over an hour. I was listening to an album by Tim Shepard this morning. Tim Shepard is probably as old as I am, and he was a white boy. Had this great album, and I played it this morning Because when I listened to Christian music, it wasn't talking about me, my, give me this, give me that, give me this, give me that. You gonna build up my bank account and all that stuff. The whole album was talking about honor and praise and worthiness unto God. You didn't have to be a Christian to feel that way. You can be a Hindu, a Muslim, anything. See, there it is. I just went over an hour. Thank you. Try to listen to the next cast that's coming up after this. This is PJ. How's Tommy the Tumor doing? He's eating. I'll try to show you. He's eating and he's growing. I've been taking tea leaf, and other things, putting on there, and it helps it. But when it eats, this thing eats like it's hungry. And I told myself, friends, I will never complain publicly about what God allowed to come to my life, because that's what I accuse Christianity of. Everybody want to get to heaven, but don't nobody want to die. All right, that's enough. Thanks for coming to my site. Tell your friends about this.